The wait is finally over here in Matthews. The Sportsplex at Matthews opens its gates for the first time in 2018 as the Charlotte Independents host a visitor who's traveled almost 1,000 miles for today's contest. It's the Charlotte Independents and the Ottawa Fury to duke it out for 3 points or possibly a point apiece. So glad that you could join us, everybody. Tyler Terrence along with the former German pro, Devin Kerr. And Devin, before we go any further, we'll take a look at these two teams from 2017 in review for Charlotte. 2 years in a row now that they've fallen in Rochester in the postseason. Good news is that's not possible this season with the Rhinos taking a hiatus in 2018. For Ottawa, sort of a mediocre season. They were able to battle their way back into 10th, but really not their best work.
Well, and I think that's what they're basing this season off of, is how they finished last year. They did such a good job kind of gathering themselves, getting back into form. Not a boatload of wins, but coming down the stretch, weren't giving up points. They were drawing a lot, finding their way, and, you know, with the offseason acquisitions, definitely headed in the right direction. Mike Jeffries and the Independents, unfortunately, started off super hot, cooled off, looking to get it going again.
Well, you talked about the offseason acquisitions, but one man who's here from last year is Steven Dos Santos. He had 10 goals a year ago, and he was really their mainstay up top.
Well, that was actually a regular season record for this squad, so awesome record books, and he's hoping to do another one this year. The problem is he put up 10. Nobody else put up more than 5. So if he's going to have another consistent year and they're going to progress further in the USL, he's going to need some supporting characters to help him out.
Dos Santos in his second season with Ottawa as part of that 2015 Rochester championship team. And for the Charlotte Independents, we'll take a look at a man who is one of the 5 finalists for Defensive Player of the Year, probably one of the best outside backs in the league, Joel Johnson.
Yeah, you said it best, Tyler, for sure. He gets up and down the pitch, inside, outside, excellent one-on-one defending, one-on-one attacking, and look at the passing accuracy. I mean, that's great from an outside back. The assist is a positive, and just going forward, the communication, everything top to bottom, he's a massive asset to that back line.
Johnson, along as well with the other Charlotte Independents members, will be looking to take 3 points here at home in their season/home opener against the Ottawa Fury Football Club. It's all coming your way next. Back here at the Sportsplex at Matthews as we are just moments away from the kickoff here between the Charlotte Independents and Ottawa Fury. Home and season opener for Charlotte. And for Ottawa, this is how Nikola Popovic in his first season with Ottawa Fury is going to go. Popovic, of course, coming over from the Swope Park Rangers in his Western Conference Championship. And a couple of new faces, and in particular, I think that fans in Ottawa are really going to be pleased with the acquisition. Tony Taylor up top pairing with Dos Santos and Howard.
Yeah, excellent combination for sure. And we talked about what kind of supporting cast, if you will, was he going to have? Those are two great. They've also got a nice young kid, Gabriel Balbinotti, 19 years old, Brazilian background, moved to Canada at the age of 12, so see if he comes in as well. And right in the middle of the park, Chris Manella, watch for him to pull the strings for this entire squad. That 4-3-3 could break down Charlotte quite easily.
And for Mike Jeffries and company, this is how Charlotte is going to look. They have some injuries that they're dealing with, most notably Brandon Miller, who is an ex-Golden Glove winner with the Rochester Rhinos. He's not available, broke his thumb during preseason. Andrew Dykstra getting the start in between the sticks, but a couple of familiar faces for the Charlotte Independents.
Well, we spotlighted Joel Johnson on the right side. Let's jump to the left, and 18-year-old Samuel Vines doing great things from the academy prospect and stepping in awesome. Interestingly enough, Mike Jeffries moving Donnie Smith out of the middle or using him in the midfield, putting him on the back line, saying they've had some trouble in preseason, looking to make things, but it's going to be makeshift until they kind of get some squad back and get it going better.
And here's a look at Nikola Popovic. He was an assistant with Swope Park a couple years ago, and then he was promoted to the head coaching job. And now Nikola Popovic, he had a great year with Swope Park Rangers, winning that Western Conference championship, eventually falling to Louisville City in the USL Cup final. But you know, I think that his system and his style of play, which was very possession-oriented based, as well as being able to defend extremely well, is going to work. And then on the other side, for Mike Jeffries, he's in his 4th season. He's just a man who's been all over the place in terms of his football experience. He was a Mac Herman Award winner as a college player. He's coached at a number of different levels, was an assistant under Bob Bradley when the Chicago Fire first came into fruition in 1998, winning the MLS Cup as well as the US Open Cup and repeating in 2000. So just great soccer minds on both sides in terms of the coaching position, but they come from very different backgrounds.
Well, and interestingly enough, from a statistician standpoint, they play, like you said, very possession-oriented, but opening this game up, Mike Jeffries told us, don't be surprised if this turns into a track meet because everybody's filling each other out. They've got new pieces on the park. Not exactly sure where everything's going to fit, but really hoping it gets going early because, again, Charlotte not finishing off the year very well. That dreadful loss, as you mentioned, to the Rochester Rhinos. However, Ottawa not making the postseason, looking to jump back in as they did a few years ago. But again, I think both teams did very well in the offseason. Get a good look at Dykstra there to move themselves into an excellent role going forward for this USL season.
And we were talking to Mike Jeffries just a couple of days ago, and he has an enormous amount of respect for this Ottawa team. And he said that he's going to be somebody that are probably going to surprise most in the Eastern Conference. Now, we've added a boatload of teams in the Eastern Conference, Indy 11 and North Carolina FC jumping in, Atlanta United as well. But Ottawa's a team that has made a lot of really good moves in the offseason. I mean, a ton of teams have made a lot of moves. But Ottawa, it seems like, put some really good pieces together. This is going to be a good test for a Charlotte team that is young right now. They're sort of injured already heading into the season, but it's going to be a very good test, and it's going to be interesting to see what life after Enzo Martinez is going to look like as we are underway for the first time at the Sportsplex in Matthews for the 2018 USL season. Tyler Terrans along with ex-German pro Devin Kerr. So happy that you could join us on this spectacular evening in Charlotte. Ottawa traveling a little under 1,000 miles for this matchup, and these two teams don't necessarily like each other. They had a couple of very good battles in the 2017 season, met twice. It was actually Ottawa who snapped their 11-game unbeaten streak in the middle of the summer last year, and then it was a 1-1 draw here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Lewis Hilden, who is now with St. Louis FC, had the equalizer in that matchup. Ottawa scoring their goal via Dos Santos. Here's a decent ball over the top. Dykstra off of his line, and he gets his first touch of the evening.
I think Nicola's going to have a few words as they're going to start this season 4 road games. I mean, you talked about the amount of traveling they did on the initial forefront. They got a lot more behind them. So to come out and just test yourselves right away, 4 road games is going to be a hard move for them.
And on the other side for Charlotte, 3 home games as they will be taking on Ottawa, Toronto FC 2, as well as Atlanta United 2. Atlanta 2 in their inaugural season in the United Soccer League. Very exciting time for the USL. There's a number of teams coming in. Teams really bolstering their lineups, their facilities. And a lot of young players on display in the USL this season as well. Sam Vines, obviously on the Charlotte side that you mentioned, he signed a homegrown contract with the Colorado Rapids, got loaned out to the Charlotte Independents. Those two have a fantastic partnership, and Mike Jeffries says the line of communication between his front office as well as Colorado's, which is now under new management than Patrick Smith, as they just completely cleaned house, the Colorado Rapids, from a tactical, technical, and front office standpoint. Anthony Hudson now in charge of the Rapids, and they just continue to just have a great relationship. Charlotte, of course, falling to the Rochester Rhinos in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs last year. A wild affair up at Capelli Sports Stadium, in which Johan Graf got things started. And then Enzo Martinez, the equalizer by way of Jaime Sayaj. Good opportunity here for Ottawa, the shot right into the hands of Dykstra. And already early on, Ottawa with a couple of decent chances, and Dykstra's number called upon early.
Well, something to keep an eye on as well, because as Ottawa stepped up and moved in the middle of the pitch, the back line of Smith and Duckett just kind of sat there and gave them a little space to play. It's not what you want to see out of your center backs, especially not in the opening 5 minutes.
Goes all the way back for Callum Irving. He's going to send it away. Irving celebrating his 25th birthday a day ago, so a very happy belated birthday to Callum Irving. Vancouver native. Takes a fortuitous bounce in favor of Ottawa. Tony Taylor. And an injured player for the Fury. Jorge Herrera. And Charlotte going to have to play it out of bounds so that the head referee can check on the injured Ottawa player. Jonathan Belinsky in charge of tonight's match. So both teams looking to get off to a good start here in 2018. Already happened a couple of games in the USL schedule. St. Louis and RGV got things kicked off last night. Pablo Aguilar in his professional debut, getting the goal scoring started for the 2018 season. And it was Tony Walls equalizing. Those two would share a point. Seattle 2 and Portland 2. Where the later game last night as Seattle came away with a 2-1 win in their new facility in Tacoma. And a terrific crowd on hand for that match. And then Louisville City continuing their dominance of the Eastern Conference and picking up in 2018 right where they left off 2017 with a 2-0 win over Nashville in their inaugural game, as they will be in the USL for a season until they move to the MLS next year. Just a whole host of great soccer going on all around the country. Joel Johnson. Early delivery towards the back post, and Callum Irving able to collect for Ottawa. Fan Select is the official soccer ball of the USL. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit selectsportamerica.com. Receive free shipping on orders over $50. Kevin Oliveira down in the middle of the park right next to Kevon George. And once again, the ball having to be played out of bounds as John Belinsky checks on Oliveira, who came over with Nikola Popovic from Sporting Kansas City. Integral part of that Western Conference Championship team from a year ago. As it appears that Oliveira is okay.
In case anybody was wondering, in the opening 10 minutes, we are still waiting for the official ruling on whether or not Jorge Herrera has received his saintship by the church. Jury's still out. Kevin Oliveira on the board, by the way.
Long ball sent ahead. Intended for Tony Taylor. Dykstra off of his line. And with a good clearance. Here's the 18-year-old Sam Vines getting one of his first touches. Donnie Smith. Spent a number of games with the Charlotte Independents in 2017 on loan from the New England Revolution. And we mentioned it during the pregame. Very interesting to see him playing in the center back position. He's much more of a natural outside back and has a great left foot and can get up and down the flanks. But again, the injuries that Mike Jeffries has been dealing with during preseason, guys have had to step into roles that they're not exactly familiar with.
Yeah, how often did we see him last year as a counterpart to Joel Johnson on the left side, or even moving up into the left midfield position? But like you said, Tyler, Mike Jeffries in the conference call saying, you know what, it's a makeshift back line. It is what it is. Whether it be training or injuries, we're just going to have to deal with what it is right now and hope that we get everybody back on track and figure our way as we go through it.
Mike Jeffries going with the long sleeve button down. He is most certainly the king of the short sleeve button downs as far as the USL is concerned, but it's March. We'll give him a break, and I'm sure the short sleeve will make its comeback. Couple months, but while we stop talking about Mike Jeffries' apparel, we will take a look at Charlotte in 2017, and it really was peaks and valleys for Charlotte as they had that incredible run during the summer, 2 months without losing a game, but then they ended up going winless for almost a month at the end of the season. 5 straight losses, culminating with that devastating loss in Rochester with that DeFregger deflection goal. As Irving will be able to handle this cleanly.
Interestingly enough, in those performances, though, Tyler, is if you go back and look at the tape and watch the videos, and if you were able to see the games live, they didn't play poorly at all. They came out, they did their job, high pressure, excellent possession, oriented top to bottom all the way. They just couldn't finish. And when you rely so heavily, as they were at that point in time, on Jorge Herrera and Enzo Martinez, who has since left us and stepped over to the Colorado Rapids for the MLS season of 2018, when those two guys weren't showing up, no one else was stepping up. And again, everybody's going in and they're going out and doing their job, but you got to have more than 2 guys that can put the ball in the back of the net.
Johnson with some clever footwork just to keep possession for Charlotte. Very much a possession-oriented team. They love to have the ball at their feet, and when they don't have it, they're on a warpath to get it back. That was really part of their identity from a year ago. And I'm sure Mike Jeffries will look to continue that same sort of style in 2018, but it'll take some time to get some of the new guys and some of the younger guys acclimated to the type of football that Jeffries is accustomed to playing.
And even though Jeffries has done sort of a retooling, losing Enzo, we see Alex is in the starting lineup. His brother, Alex Martinez, not in the starting lineup tonight, but he does have some guys that are extremely familiar with the system that can kind of help push the newcomers and the young kids in the right direction. You know, lean on your center back, Bilal Duckett, the makeshift center back, Donnie Smith. You continue to move up the field. I mean, Jorge Herrera, Father Time, never getting to his body, showing no short of attrition whatsoever. And of course, I call him the veteran, but Caleb Calvert, it feels like he's been around for quite some time now, but still only 20 years of age. Just loads of experience that can help steer the ship in the right direction.
Free kick coming the other way for Charlotte. Moapi drawing the foul for the Independents, making his first appearance in the Charlotte blue. As both teams still trying to find their strides as you get a look at the 18-year-old Sam Vines, who was named to the 2017 Academy Best 11. Bright future for that young man. And he's going to get some great tutelage from Mike Jeffries.
You got to wonder what's going through his head. He's Academy player, the DA Academy, and representing his country, the 14s, the 15s, the 16s, the 18s, the 20s. That was happening when I just made it to national pool. Let alone to be able to rep the country itself. So, like you said, big things waiting for that young man.
Cordell Cato taken down from behind by none other than Kyle Porter, the 28-year-old from Toronto, in his second stint with Ottawa. Made 15 appearances for them in 2016, and returning here with Nikola Popovic and company in 2018. A little bit more on Sam Vines. Mike Jeffries just said that he's just such an active outside back from an offensive standpoint, and you and I just love to talk about defenders because you defended, and you know it's becoming such a more important part of the game as Vines able to find Cato here. The return pass, as he's able to get the delivery away. It's not a bad one, and forces Irving well off of his line. And I think that Vines is going to fit in well with the type of soccer that Mike Jeffries likes to play, with those outside backs really becoming more and more involved in the attack.
And one thing that Jeffries referenced to us that you just saw a good representation of right there is he talked about his ability to get up to speed, and that he has great soccer IQ, but that at some points in time he kind of loses thought process as to how quick everything is and all the pros around him. You saw a second ago, ball played in, waiting for the return ball down in the quarter, and he almost stuttered for a second and then had to jump back on his horse to make it to the end line. Possesses the capability to get down there and knock it back, but that should have just been a fluid motion getting in down.
Cato. I think if there was one word to describe Charlotte in the attacking third and just in the attacking part of the game, probably be patient, no?
I feel like every single time when you get ready to bring me onto air and I have the opportunity to do something, you just steal my thunder, because that was the exact word I was going for. Patient. You're right on point, man. He just, every single player, and Jeffries preaches that too. You have to be patient, take your time. You know, you turn the ball over, get back, do your job. He's almost like not as abrupt or abrasive, but systematic, like a Bill Belichick type of coach, where he just gives you the capability to sit there and just do your job, literally start to finish. Because you'll see, ball turns over, everybody step backs in, gain your formation again, and that causes so much frustration for alternating teams.
Jamar Dixon looking to turn in the middle of the park, somehow splits through two Independence defenders. But Joel Johnson not able to keep it in play, as we have played a little more than 15 minutes here. The Sportsplex at Matthews, Tyler Terrens along with Devin Kurt. So glad that you can join us for opening day here. About 10, 15 miles outside of the downtown Charlotte area. Good work from Sam Vines. Kevon George. Well, Duckett, Notre Dame product, finding Joel Johnson. This is great work from Charlotte, but the offside flag is going to be up. It was very good movement, and it looked like for a brief moment that Moapi was going to be away. But Ottawa were playing a high line and ended up paying dividends.
Yeah, it was a pretty combination play by Charlotte for sure, but you saw Monty Mosen on the left back there, and Shirley Minicio, just excellent communication, stepping up, holding that flat line, causing the offside position flag to be raised.
Manila had a tough time keeping his footing. And then Jorge Herrera winning a throw-in for Charlotte. George, early delivery. Manizio able to get there. And knocked out of play by Colvin Falvey. Clever move from Oliveira. Devin, you mentioned something before in terms of Jeffries being a system coach. As Kevon George puts in a good tackle, but it'll go all the way back to Callum Irving. On the other side for Ottawa, Nikola Popovic, obviously he had a very apparent system at Swope Park, and one that Mike Jeffries was very aware of. And when we spoke to him at the end of last season, he predicted Swope to be one of the teams to possibly come out of the Western Conference. Do you see Popovic bringing over some of that Swope Park flavor here, or do you think he's going to maybe try to mold to the players that were already here and maybe figure something else out?
I think because of the youthful talent that he has around him, you're definitely capable of bringing that system in here. I mean, they're definitely going to be a much more possession-oriented team. You kind of saw a glimpse of it last year, but, you know, again, both sides telling us that just not really able to find the form. A lot of people had Ottawa picked at the beginning of the season that they were going to come out and be a force to be reckoned with, and they just struggled to find form. But you can see them move the ball around the field very nicely. They just need to make sure they're consistent with it.
Well, there was some turnover in Ottawa a year ago. It was actually right after Ottawa snapped the Charlotte Independence unbeaten streak that Daglish stepped down. And it was Julian de Guzman, who finished up playing with Ottawa no more than about 6 to 8 months ago, stepped in the interim role. And now de Guzman is the general manager. And his first order of business was bringing in Nikola Popovic. So there's been a little bit of turnover and just trying to figure out exactly where the Ottawa franchise is headed in terms of the short-term future, but it looks like it's in a very solid direction. They have all the pieces just about making them gel together, and it's tough to be able to tell in week one, let alone not even 20 minutes in. And Charlotte doing a good job of pinning Ottawa in their own end.
Well, I think if you're in the offseason, if you're going to go get someone, Popovic is definitely headed in the right direction. He's on a short list for me, for sure, to be at the helm. And I'll tell you what, the back line of Ottawa has been very impressive so far. Charlotte, as we can expect, very methodical moving up the pitch, and you know, they kind of struggled with it towards the end of last season, where they would get into the final third and didn't really have a lot of ingenuity coming down, and it was just too much by the book, and teams could read them very easily. You've seen once they've gotten down there, they're knocking balls into the box and everybody's ready for it.
So Santos holding up things nicely for Ottawa. Sends it into the channel. Dykstra off of his line again. He has been very confident coming off of his line, and with Brandon Miller having that broken thumb, Mike Jeffries saying that he should be cleared either this weekend or at the very latest on Monday. We'll obviously have to wait and see exactly what the report comes out on him, but Dykstra just trying to make the most of the opportunity at hand.
He's going to have to impress, and impress rapidly, because former goalkeeper of the year, USL, laying in wait off that broken hand. As you mentioned, broke it at the beginning of preseason, but wishing Brandon Miller a happy and speedy recovery, and the best for Andrew Dykstra for sure.
Well, the last 3 Golden Glove winners have come from Rochester. Back-to-back for Tomas Gomez, who's now with St. Louis FC, and then Brandon Miller. But this year we will obviously have a new team who's going to sport the best goalkeeper in the United Soccer League. Good work from Sam Vines. Comes back for the 18-year-old. Good work here. The shot well over the crossbar. It's Greg Jordan, some nifty footwork, just freeing himself up for a look at goal.
Yeah, crafty from Greg Jordan. He's kind of been just in a holding midfielder spot most of the first half, venturing out into the final third here in little right-left combo. Gets it right on the right peg. Nice. Try to pick out that upper corner. Almost Corey Herzog-esque, if you will. Just lean back a little bit too much and over the bar.
Corey Herzog had a ball that was arrowed for the top corner in the game last night against RGV in South Texas. But Nico Cordy, the rookie goalkeeper, made it unbelievable save. Both goalkeepers in that game were terrific. A game that didn't feature a ton of chances, but the few that were mustered up by either team were denied in a heartbeat by the goaltenders who were really on top of their game in week one. St. Louis, of course, moving from the Eastern Conference back to the Western Conference, where they initially started in 2016. And a nasty collision between Jordan and it looks like Oliveira.
You can see the 50-50 ball right in the middle of the park, just stepping in. You're right, it was Kevin Oliveira, just gets there a little bit late. Oh, little head-to-head action. That's going to ring the bell for sure. Obviously, the referee going to blow the whistle and settle things down, as anytime you see him go head-to-head, you want to be very, very careful.
And you might already be able to see Oliveira with a gash. Looks like on the side or underneath his right eye, or left eye rather. There's a look at the fouls from about 23 minutes in so far. But you hate to see this type of collision. Head to head, noggin to noggin. And fair play to the referee who stopped play immediately, and with all the new concussion protocols coming in, as we'll take another look at the Jordan Oliveira collision, and you can already see the athletic trainer from Charlotte motioning that a substitute is necessary.
Getting another angle here, as camera trailing a little bit late. Definitely a colliding right on the temples there and just above the eye for Kevin Oliveira. It's his training staff trying to get him back on the pitch. Bloodied but not buried.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've seen some scary head injuries, you know, not only in soccer but in other sports as well, where some guys are trotted back onto the field, and it's good to see the recognition from the Charlotte athletic trainer, noticing right away that if Greg Jordan has any sign of concussion, that he really shouldn't be re-entering the game. I know it's week one, you want to give the fans the best product on the field, but these players' safety, you know, is obviously the #1 concern here. And with a nasty collision like that, it'd be tough to see either player coming back on. And a round of applause for Greg Jordan, who will most likely exit the game. Greg Jordan, a 27-year-old from Naperville, Illinois, in his first season with Charlotte. Spent last year with the San Francisco Deltas, 2014 to 16 with Minnesota United, and was actually drafted 32nd overall by the Philadelphia Union in the 2012 draft. And heads to the bench here in the 26th minute. So now an early decision coming for Mike Jeffries. And it is going to be Jan Ekra, the Frenchman, coming on here to replace Jordan. And it looks like for the time being that Oliveira is going to try to return to the field. Same could not be said for Jordan. And that'll be Jan Ekra in his 3rd season with Charlotte. 27-year-old. He was born in Ivory Coast, but spent the majority of his childhood in France, and was actually roommates with none other than Karim Benzema of Real Madrid during his youth days with Lyon over in France. Coming on here in the 27th minute to make his 2018 debut. Herrera, like to play it short. Back for the Colombian. Early ball in. The header towards the back post. It wasn't a bad idea, but it was probably about a net of 17 yards off the header. There was going to need to be a ton of power behind that.
You saw Callum Irving sliding right over into the space. some issues for the back line for sure. Those long diagonal balls can really cause so much frustration for our back line, but Alan Merving had the troops well organized.
As you can see, Oliveira back onto the scene here in the 28th. And if there was one thing that Mike Jeffries did not need entering this game was another injury.
It's week after week after week. Center back, goalkeeper, midfielder, everybody's going down.
And they stayed pretty healthy for 2017. You didn't really see any injuries to Enzo Martinez, Alex Martinez. Joel Johnson was an Ironman, played almost every single game. Haven't heard Caleb Calvert's number called all that much tonight.
They're coming down from the Rapids, trying to step up there and give Mike Jeffries and the Independents an extra dimension. And last year, how about in the postseason, some excellent combination play up there, leading to some goals, breaking that goal drought.
Well, he had that terrific goal against Louisville City, mentioning that goal-scoring drought. He sort of got them going towards the end of the season to see if they could try to make a playoff push. That would obviously end up falling short in Western New York to Bob Lilly and company. Sam Vines into the area. Skip all the way towards the back post. The shot just pulled wide of that near post. Dos Santos turning. He's looking to pick out Tony Taylor. But only ended up finding the hands of Andrew Dykstra. Kevon George, very good pickup for the Charlotte Independents in the offseason. 28-year-old from Trinidad and Tobago. He actually started in that infamous game against the United States national team that would see the U.S. fail to qualify for the 2018 World Cup in Russia. A very hard-working central midfielder as he gets called for the foul.
He's got a familiar friend right next to him, Cordell Cato, who's got 20 apps for the Trinidad and Tobago men's national team as well. Hasn't been as prolific as Kevon George has as of late, but it'll be a nice little combination for Jeffries in the middle of the field.
Dos Santos. 10 goals a year ago for Ottawa. And as Devin mentioned during the pregame, no other Ottawa player scoring more than 5. So a balance on the score sheet is something that Nikola Popovic is going to be looking into. Right now, Ottawa have some defending to do. Calvert could be on here for the Independents. What a great challenge right at the last. Colvin Falvey just with a terrific challenge to deny the strike. And to keep the score level at 0.
Falvey signed back on January 23rd, and they brought him in just for that reason. Extremely impressive build-up by Charlotte. Great ball down into the corner for Caleb Calvert, and you can see him trying to bring it back across. Jorge Herrera trailing. Thought maybe the ball was going to go to the back post, electing to go one-on-one instead.
Kyle Porter. Oliveira. And Howard. Well, now it's Ottawa in clear possession, looking to break down this Charlotte defense. More than a half an hour played here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Tyler Terrens along with Devin Kerr for opening night here at the Sportsplex at Matthews in the 2018 season. Ottawa missed out on the playoffs in their first season in the United Soccer League in 2017. Charlotte with some unfinished business, in the words of Mike Jeffries, but saying that it's not exactly looming large in the eyes of the players who were there a year ago, but just a little bit extra motivation when you're hitting the gym and doing your summer workout packet, or rather winter workout packet. Thinking back to college days there. And is going to be a foul on Charlotte, so a dangerous set piece opportunity coming up for Ottawa, and a chance to swing a ball in. Caleb Calvert with the interception. The ball went over the head of Jorge Herrera. Oliveira coming extremely deep to receive that ball. And 10 minutes remaining in this first half. Not too many chances for either side. Colvin Falvey probably denying the best chance of the game for either team. Comes off the foot of Cato. Falls into the path of Howard. Oliveira. The ball to the outside. Not handled cleanly by Monty Mawson, the 17-year-old. Born in the year 2000, celebrating his 18th birthday in June.
God, it really makes me feel bad about myself.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
I'm referencing the talent, by the way, not the age.
Yeah. Great movement from Ottawa. It's Howard leading the charge the other way. Good challenge from Joel Johnson. Still a little bit of work to do. And a late call here from John Belinsky. I'll tell you what, John Belinsky is like the Ed Hockley of the United Soccer League.
Did you just make a reference to a retired NFL referee? He's retired.
You know, we'll take a look at the foul. But tell me that John Belinsky is the last referee that you'd want to, you know, get a yellow card for dissent in the USL.
Oh, definitely in the USL. Yeah, I'm not going after him.
Howarth having to come off the field for a brief moment as it looked like an apparent head injury, now getting concussion field test from the athletic trainer of Ottawa. You didn't like the Ad Hockley reference?
No, I respected it. He's just retired. It's frustrating. It's one of my biggest mainstays on Sunday afternoons for me. No longer have the joy of watching on the screen.
I just made the comment. Now you're starting to reminisce about a retired NFL referee.
You're bringing up feelings. It hurts my feelings.
Howard sending it forward. While Duckett able to cut it out, and then Donnie Smith clearing it out the other way. A little bit of a lackluster start here in the Sportsplex at Matthews, but probably what we could have expected from these two teams. Ottawa injecting a lot of new talent into their roster, new coach. And for Charlotte, obviously we mentioned the experimental lineup that Mike Jeffries has to use with all the injuries and, you know, new acquisitions, players maybe not necessarily being as fit as they should be coming into preseason. And that all sort of adds up to a 0-0 draw at halftime, probably.
Well, we referenced talking to the head coaches. Neither one of them would be surprised if things opened up and turned into a track meet. Unfortunately, we're getting the exact opposite here. Almost like two gentlemen playing chess in a park on a Sunday afternoon. Should be playing checkers. Speed the game up a little bit, right?
When are we going to play checkers again? It was fun the last time we did it.
I'm more of a Monopoly kind of guy, you know that.
Yep.
Tactile.
Jan Ekra. Cato muscled off the ball by the 17-year-old, but ends up getting called for the foul. Always fascinating to see how these teenagers fare in this type of professional environment.
There's some preseason jitters you see right there as Mwape holding the ball on the unline, the touch line. Joel Johnson trying to make the overlapping run. It had to actually cut inside of him to get around him. So Mwape needs to recognize that, bring the ball and let the overlapping run develop. Gives you two options.
Corner kick coming up here for the Charlotte Independents. And this corner kick brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Donnie Smith on top of the corner. In swinger. Smith with a good ball in. And it's going to find the back of the net. The Charlotte Independents are off and running in 2018. And it's Cordell Cato who claims it for the Jacks. 1-0 here at the Sportsplex at Matthews.
Well, there's a little fire to get you up and going with 5 minutes left in the first half. See Cordell Cato just drifting back a little bit, standing in front of Callum Irving. Ball in swinging. Jorge Herrera almost gets to it, and Cato with the back heel. How clever from the Trinidadian there, huh? Solid finish by Cordell Cato, and he's going to get his first Charlotte Independence goal. I'm sure the boys are going to have a laugh about that one in the locker room. Very, very clever, 1-0.
Well, it looked like it went directly in from Donnie Smith, but when you saw the corner coming in, it looked like it didn't have enough bend on it. And I was perplexed as to why Cato was claiming it, but that isn't. I mean, he's not trying. I mean, he's obviously just trying to put it on frame, but just an incredible job to get something on it.
And you're deflecting for sure, and it's so difficult as a defender. You've got that in-swinging ball. You've got to defend, body shifting around. Your goalkeeper over your shoulder barking orders. And then right as you think it's going to drop on Herrera's head, he doesn't get a touch. And things like that, sometimes it bounces off the foot, goes out of bounds. But for sure, Cordell's smart enough to get his left boot on it, flick it to the back post. He's going to push his team out ahead here. Ottawa are going to be frustrated with that one for sure.
Cordell Cato in his Charlotte Independence debut, getting the first goal of the 2018 season. Spent about 5 years with the San Jose Earthquakes, amassing over 111 appearances. Made a few appearances for the Seattle Sounders. Began his career in Trinidad and Tobago, playing for San Juan Jabloteh, as well as the Defense Force. San Juan Jabloteh, usually one of the better teams in that Trinidad and Tobago domestic league. Kevon George, trying the feet of Jorge Herrera. Looking to spring Cato the other way. Cordell Cato maybe looking for a brace before the half, gets taken down, and it's going to go the other way. That was probably the last thing I expected from that play. Maybe a no call at the very least, but foul called against Cordell Cato.
That's extremely unfortunate for the Independents. Excellent transition the last few times down the field, and saw a little deflection going in behind the back line. Kyle Porter laying chase to Cordell Cato. You can see he definitely gets an arm on and then gets his own feet caught up underneath Cato. That's definitely a foul against Ottawa, and they are lucky to escape with one there.
Charlotte hunting the ball down now in Ottawa's defensive third. Going to turn defense into offense as Herrera slips on the terrain here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. And it's going to be a yellow card issued to Kevon George. So George will be shown mustard here in the 45th minute for the first yellow card of the 2018 season for Charlotte. And rightfully so, is late. And it was a bit reckless after the ball was already gone.
Frustrating for Kevon George, but he needs to be a little bit smarter in his efforts there. Ball's coming across the middle, just stay on your feet. You see it comes out in front of him, and he's just a little bit hasty. Don't really think Colin Falvey was going anywhere with that. I see they were trying to counterattack, but hold your ground, hold your form. And he's gonna have to play the last 45 minutes, as you mentioned, Tyler, on a yellow card.
Joel Johnson defending out wide. Showing some good skill. His clearance only gets as far as Jamar Dixon. 3 minutes of stoppage time added on in the first half. Cordell Cato with the lone goal in this one so far. Here's Herrera. Never going to trouble Callum Irving, as it was an extremely tight angle and there was no support.
And you haven't seen much from either squad going forward for the most part. Getting down into the final third has been very difficult for both teams, most of it being played in their defensive third as you're seeing spraying the ball back and forth or down into the middle, struggling in transition. I'm sure that's something they're going to talk about in the dressing rooms at halftime.
Fans, make sure to cast your vote for the USL Goal of the Week every Monday evening at uslsoccer.com as the road to the Fans' Choice USL Goal of the Year continues throughout the season. Not sure Cordell Cato's goal will make that list, but a goal is a goal is a goal. And it was certainly exactly what the doctor ordered for Charlotte right before halftime. Assist coming from Donnie Smith off the corner. And in these types of games, Devin, it usually is set pieces that's going to be the difference maker.
And how pretty from the corner. Donnie Smith has those nice bending left-footed balls. You're going to see another one here. Try and get one of the big bodies of the back line, maybe even Joel Johnson on the end of it.
Smith, not a bad ball in. Irving well off of his line, and then the shot from George. Then we're near the frame as just sort of snatched at it, hoping to catch Irving away from home.
Kevon George and his emotions just got a little bit better of him there. Ball's coming across. Goalkeeper way out of position. Callum Irving could see him at the top of his 6-yard box. Just needed to stay over it and put it on frame.
Well, that's going to do it for the first 45 minutes here to the Sportsplex at Matthews. We really didn't have much to talk about in the first 41 minutes or so, but then it was Donnie Smith's corner and Cordell Cato with a neat little flick to find the back of the net for the first time for Charlotte Independence. Devin, your thoughts?
I think they just need to amp their energy up. They look like they're just going through the motions. Everybody just kind of getting the preseason jitters out of the way. But I'll tell you what, it's going to take more than that if you want to make a run at the USL title this year. And I think both squads need to regroup, come out in the second half, and get it going again.
1-0 to Charlotte at the half here in the Sportsplex at Matthews as we will head to the halftime show. Don't go anywhere, folks. Halftime here in Matthews, North Carolina, between the Charlotte Independence and Ottawa Fury Football Club, as Cordell Cato's goal in around the 41st minute off the Donnie Smith corner kick is the difference right now. And we will take a step aside and get a look at a fantastic interview with the president of the United Soccer League, Jake Edwards.
Hi, we're being joined today by Jake Edwards, president of the USL. Just getting ready to kick off an exciting 2018 season. Jake, thank you very much for joining us today.
Great, my pleasure.
Jake, it's been another exciting off-season for the USL, and buzz is really picking up as we're getting ready to kick off here. Talk to us about what you're looking forward to the most in 2018 and where the USL is positioning itself in the American soccer landscape.
Yeah, we've worked hard this off-season and the last few years now to create a really great league, but an aspirational league. We look at the leagues around the world and we say we would like to be in the company of some of those top leagues. We're now the second division in the US. We've worked hard to achieve that, and we aspire to be one of the top second divisions in the world. And there's some phenomenal leagues out there to aspire to that we can learn from. But things are going great. It's been a busy off-season. We've got some new teams coming on board, some great new owners coming in the league, phenomenal new players coming in the league. And it's going to be by far and away the toughest and most competitive season, but certainly it's the biggest season we've had yet. More games, more teams. We reach more communities, more fans than ever before. So this is another big year for us.
Well, the league this year certainly continues to grow, and we're welcoming 6 new teams to the USL in 2018. What are you looking forward to the most during this kickoff weekend of these teams coming in and the quality of soccer we're going to see across the league?
Yeah, 6 very exciting teams. 2 teams that are already established clubs in Indy 11 and North Carolina. Great pedigree, great fan bases, exciting soccer-specific stadiums, and Atlanta United, the lone team out of MLS coming in this season. Atlanta United breaking all kinds of records as an organization in MLS, doing great things for the sport. Fully anticipate the same for Atlanta United too. And then, of course, our new markets, Nashville and Las Vegas, Fresno. Really exciting new additions to our league, and have done tremendously well in preseason games so far, well attended. So very much looking to see how those teams and those new fan bases mix in with all the other teams we have in our league.
Great interview with the president of the USL, Jake Edwards, who just continues to do a phenomenal job of growing this league and growing the sport in our country as we are tied up, or excuse me, 1-0 lead for Charlotte over the Ottawa Fury, as we will take a look at the numbers from the first 45 minutes between these two clubs. One of them made the postseason last year in Charlotte. One of them was on the outside looking in Ottawa. And it was Cordell Cato who got things started in the 41st minute off Donnie Smith's corner. And sort of interesting to see a Mike Jeffries team who's usually dominating the possession statistic getting dominated, but they have the one statistic that matters, and that's the goal.
Well, I talked about the middle of the field, exactly what you were going to see, and you saw Manella, Jamar Dixon, Kevin Oliveira, although taking a couple knocks, holding the ball very well. But again, neither squad, once they moved forward, there wasn't really an intent to go forward, and everybody was kind of lacking that ingenuity, and you're waiting for someone to step up. And it's a lot of what we actually saw from Charlotte towards the end of last season, kind of maybe funneling off onto Ottawa a little bit. But again, both teams just, it's the first game of the season, kind of feeling each other out, feeling their squad out as well. You got to remember, some of these guys have only been with the team for 24 hours. So, a lot of newbies coming in and out of the locker room, and I think just over time they'll get things going a little bit better, but not what you want to see from either coach or either squad coming out in the first game of the season.
Well, of course, Ottawa dealing with a new head coach in Nikola Popovic, who came over from the Swope Park Rangers a year ago, who won the Western Conference. So a new system that is really trying to be implemented, as well as the new players. And for the Charlotte Independents, a lot of injuries, a lot of problems during the preseason that they're trying to work through here in Week 1 in the USL. They are currently up 1-0 over Ottawa thanks to Cordell Cato's second half kickoff coming your way next. Second half kickoff just moments away here at the Sportsplex at Matthews between the Charlotte Independents and Ottawa Fury. Cordell Cato's goal in the 41st minute right now is the difference between these two Eastern Conference sides. Tyler Terrence along with ex-German pro Devin Kerr. Glad to have you with us, and we'll take a look at some of the best moments from the first half here in North Carolina. And really, there wasn't much to write home about in the first few minutes, or the first 40 minutes, I should say. Both teams just trying to figure out their identity for the 2018 season, more so Ottawa, as we know what Charlotte is going to bring to the table, but it's just a matter of who's going to step up and do it.
Well, interestingly enough as well, when both teams had success, it was pretty prolific going forward. The problem was that they just didn't replicate what they were doing before. Charlotte Independents, when they've been direct and gone forward and gone fast, they've had some success, but most of the time they're just going right to left, and Ottawa's more than happy to let them do that. On the reverse side of things, Ottawa coming down the field, they need to isolate the channels a little bit more. Charlotte Independents and their back line, and more specifically their outside defenders, are playing very high up on the pitch. So if they're able to get a turnover and push it down to the channel, they should be able to capitalize on that much better than they did in the first half.
Charlotte's best opportunities of the first half probably came from set pieces, and that's how eventually they got their goal.
Yeah, credit to Donnie Smith in the back, those in-swinging left pitches all over the place. But Cato was very active as well. You saw Cato coming in the back and Kevon George having their way in the middle. You saw combination play coming down the pitch, very nice. This is a good little 1-2-3 again. Thought they were going to go to the back post for Jorge Herrera, elected not to do so. You see Cordell Cato just continuously getting involved, and right here, and that's so difficult for a defender. Again, everybody stepping to the near post. They have it covered. Someone's got to jump, though. Herrera does a good job getting around the back line. Irving probably not vocal enough. Maybe needs to come and punch that ball when he chooses not to. You've got 4 Ottawa defenders standing there, and no one steps in to actually go for the 50-50 challenge. Leaves Cato the ability to get that little back heel into the back post. Puts Charlotte up 1-0.
And what a way to make your debut at the Sportsplex at Matthews, to get a goal right before the half. And those are goals that can really be backbreakers and make life difficult for a team like Ottawa, who's traveled almost 1,000 miles down to North Carolina for this matchup in their first week under a new coach. But again, we were talking about this during the St. Louis game yesterday, in the terms of these new teams have a great opportunity on the road to be battle tested and to prove their worth in a situation that isn't necessarily advantageous.
Well, I think we have to be very careful of how critical we are of them as well, because we talked about the 4-game road trip, thousands of miles traveled. I mean, you have to understand, you're changing time zones, you're changing cities. There's so many things going on that are going to affect these players besides what we're seeing on the pitch.
And you mentioned the 4-game road trip for Ottawa to open up the season. We'll take a look at their first 5 games here. It's at Toronto FC, it's at Tampa Bay, it's at Pittsburgh, and then home against North Carolina FC Cincinnati. And even though those games are going to be up in Canada, those are no cakewalks either. North Carolina FC, a great team coming over here in the 2018 season. Obviously, we all know what FC Cincinnati is capable of.
FC Cincinnati hoping they can replicate last year's run through the U.S. Open and get things started off correctly. Again, another team that had an excellent streak last year, but yeah, Ottawa Fury, they're going to have to come out of the gates hot, dealing with Toronto FC, Tampa Bay Rowdies, who were able to win 3-1, and Bob Lilly and the Riverhounds, they're no slouch at all either this year.
Absolutely, and then we'll take a look at the upcoming schedule for the Charlotte Independents, and they have 3 home games to kick off the 2018 season. It's not crazy to think that they might be able to get 6, 7, maybe even 9 points out of these first 3 games.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what's going to happen in that Nashville game. They're a little bit wishy-washy in their match today with Louisville, and you thought you might see a little bit better out of them, but again, coming down the stretch, how about that game on April 14th, North Carolina FC? That's going to be a fun rivalry, folks, that we're going to see for years to come, hopefully.
Well, it's games against Toronto FC 2 and Atlanta United 2 coming up for the Charlotte Independents, and then taking on Nashville in Nashville in their inaugural season, as they will have a cup of coffee in the USL and then eventually move to Major League Soccer next season. But we'll turn our focus back to the Sportsplex at Matthews, where the Charlotte Independents will come out here in the second half. And Mike Jeffries did have to make a substitute midway through the first half with Greg Jordan going off, and now we're going to see Christian Portilla coming on for a halftime substitution for Nikola Popovic. But it seemed like once Ekra came into the game, he provided a little bit of an offensive spark, but I would say it probably came more so from his defensive prowess rather than his ability on the ball.
Yeah, and he told us in the middle of the field they were going to struggle this year. Drew Marquez Davidson not playing this year, so a little bit lacking their maestro, if you will. So again, he's kind of been repetitive with his comments, but he said the same thing kind of all over the pitch. We're a makeshift squad right now, and we're just trying to figure out how to get to the next game. And look, if Calvert's got to go play goalkeeper, let him do it.
We won't go that far, but we will kick the second half off here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Tyler Terrence along with former German pro Devin Kerr. Glad to have you with us for week 1 of the United Soccer League. We are just so glad that we are back on the air, being able to bring you these types of games and in this phenomenal league, as it has been way too long, my friend. Maybe not long enough for you, I don't know.
Did you miss me? I felt like you were headed that direction, but
I'm only going to say it if you reciprocate. You know, I'm not going to put myself out there and then just be devastated.
Fair enough.
So?
I missed you.
So the one change made for Nikola Popovic at the half. And it's Christian Portilla. A 29-year-old from Santander, Spain, in his first season with Ottawa. He's made 16 stops in his professional career. Spent 2017 with the San Francisco Deltas, 17 appearances and 2 goals a year ago. He had brief spells in La Liga and Segunda Division, as well as Greece, but he has been all over the place. It's amazing to meet Evan sometimes, and you've traveled all over, you know, in your professional career as well, that the game of football can really bring you anywhere in the world.
Well, Connor, you were talking about his resume. We'll just go countries here: Spain, Mallorca, Greece, Budapest, Indonesia, Cyprus, then jumping to the United States, NASL, USL. It's a mouthful.
It is, to say the least. Charlotte did have some very key acquisitions in the offseason that aren't necessarily on the field at the moment. And Charlotte putting together a nice string of passes here. Ekra coming out wide from Moapi. Johnson overlapping. It'll find the feet of Joel Johnson. Johnson into the area, sends it across. And Callum Irving somehow, amongst all that traffic, able to hang on to it.
And that's better from Charlotte, but Joel Johnson needs to be much more vocal. That ball needs to come about 2 seconds prior. Then he can challenge keeper one-on-one cutting in. Instead, he has to wait, knock the ball across. It gave Ottawa and the back line a chance to regroup, get the troops in the right place.
But that's when Charlotte's at their best, right? Is when you get Joel Johnson, when you get Sam Vines, those outside backs involved in the play and sucking in the opposing outside back and then just sort of, you know, overloading one side.
It's very stereotypical soccer that you're going to see from Mike Jeffries and his squad. You want a ball into the middle, ball up top, overlapping runs on the outside, and then the guys coming around the backside, crashing on that 6-yard penalty mark, trying to knock it down.
Route one the other way for Ottawa, as Howarth is going to chase it down. Somehow keeps it in play. But good work from the 18-year-old Sam Vines. Good sliding challenge there from Jamar Dixon. Kyle Porter unable to keep it in play. Haven't heard a ton from Tony Taylor on the outside, on the bottom of your screen, wearing number 99 for Ottawa in white. This is a guy who spent last year with Jacksonville Armada, but in 2016 had a great season with NYCFC. But then when they made their coaching change and brought in Patrick Vieira, he didn't really fit in that system. But that's a great pickup for Ottawa, and I would venture to say that they might want to get him some more touches because he's very dangerous when he's on the ball.
And both he and Kevon George coming over from Jacksonville Armada, going over to separate squads. And watching the style of play from Charlotte, those guys are playing so high up, those outside backs.
Goes in for Calvert. He was letting it run through, but Jorge Herrera wasn't exactly on the same page, but that's the sort of creativity that Calvert brings in that number 9 position.
And what I'd really like to see from Jeffrey's squad is what you're seeing right now. They're playing much higher on the pitch. When they're turning the ball over, they've been kind of a little bit more lackluster in their efforts, sitting back, giving Ottawa the opportunity to play out. Now you see a little bit more of a high press, and it's causing frustration for the Fury.
A little bit too clever there from Calvert. Surrendering possession, Ottawa. It's a team that actually went to the semifinals of the Canadian Championship in 2017. They lost to the Toronto FC, who's making a historic run in the Scotiabank CONCACAF Champions League right now as we speak, but they actually won the first leg 2-1, ended up losing on aggregate 5-2.
And that goes back to the comments we made at the top of our broadcast, Tyler, talking about the skill set that all these players possess and how each and every coach in the USL thinks that they could be a force to be reckoned with. Again, just need to get on the same page and find that chemistry.
Good ball out wide for Porter. Slip ball through. It's intended for Howard. It will get there. Clever backheel. Sent across. Not exactly sure if that was the best idea from Dos Santos, but if anybody can pull off a shot from that angle, it's probably Steven.
Well, how clever was it to get to the byline and just backheel? Carl Howard, 5th season with these guys and knows exactly what he's doing. Talked about chemistry. He had eyes in the back of the head on that one.
Sam Vines clipping it forward for Calvert. It's a great ball forward. Good first touch. Calvert going for goal. And over the head of Callum Irving, but both teams starting to find a rhythm here in the second half.
In certain situations, I might be a little bit more critical of Caleb Calvert, but neither goalkeeper being tested, so I like the idea, keeping him honest, and just gets in behind the back line, a little bit of space, looks over his shoulder, and has a go at goal.
Cordell Cato with the lone goal of this one so far came in the 41st minute off a corner kick from Donnie Smith. And if the scoreline remains the same, we might see Ottawa try to open things up as we progress in this second half. Tyler Terrans along with Devin Kerr for week 1 in the United Soccer League. It is officially back as Ottawa making their way up the pitch here. Good defensive work on the near side from Moapi, who Mike Jeffries says is going to be a fan favorite from day one. Says he has a lot of good ideas going forward, creative, and the buzzword that you keep using in the final third, ingenuity.
He also said he plays with a boatload of emotion, which you can kind of see wearing his heart on his sleeve a little bit. I'm sure that'll play into the hands very well. Imagine the combination with him and Alex Martinez and the emotion that could run wild.
I was about to say, if you don't have a Martinez brother on the field, where's the emotion coming from?
And they can be the 1-2 punch this year in the USL for the Charlotte Independents for sure.
Moapi, good strength to keep the ball. Ends up going down into a space for Caleb Calvert to run onto it. Calvert towards the top of the box. Herrera, what a save from Irving! A terrific display of skill from both teams. Herrera just be able to put it on frame, and then Callum Irving stretching his bones, stretching his entire body to make the save.
Well, and that's exactly what you want to see from the independent squad. We talked about Caleb Calvert getting in behind and getting a chance and opportunity a second ago going at Callum Irving. How about the ingenuity on his part? We used that word before, getting down and using that big frame. Excellent service into the box. And almost a phenomenal finish by Jorge Herrera.
And this corner kick brought to you by Chick-fil-A. And the corner kick will be delivered by a man who already has an assist from a corner tonight, Donnie Smith. So looks like Carl Howard just getting a talking to from John Polinsky. Smith towards the back post. Irving gets a fist to it, retreating back to his line. Kavan George. And he's called for the foul. That's cut out by Moapi. He is just a little ball of energy, wreaking havoc on the Ottawa back line. A nasty challenge on the near side. No call from the referee. And now it's going to be brought back. And Devin, that tackle got you up out of your seat a little bit.
I mean, I was excited about the tackle. I felt like I was looking at myself, but a little bit late in my opinion, coming in on Sergio Minizio. He felt the wrath of that for sure. Caleb Calvert is a big frame that I would not want to go toe-to-toe with. You're going to get another look as they just come down the line. Mwape tracking back and Calvert sliding over, going studs up for sure.
Well, it was actually clean basically for the entire way until, no, come on. And then it was that right leg that sort of popped up at the last second where he had Stubbs up and then clobbered him in the knee.
We're playing role reversal right now because I'm usually over there arguing back the other way. I'm the first one to say that's a clean tackle, but I can't be with you on that one, buddy.
I've been putting in a fair share of tackles in my Sunday league, so.
I've heard. Yeah.
And now Michael Salazar coming on, a 25-year-old from New York City in his second season with Ottawa. Was with Montreal since 2016. 34 appearances and 5 goals with the Impact as Ottawa making their way up the pitch here. Howard towards the byline, and that is great defending from the youngster Sam Vines, claiming that he won the ball for Charlotte, but it'll be a corner coming up for the visitors.
Well, we haven't really called Dos Santos' name very much, but Carl Howarth very active in this entire game. Pretty much the only limelight they've had up top there. See motions for the troops to come forward and help out a little bit.
And it looks like Ottawa's doing something similar to what Charlotte did on their corner kick goal, was just loading the area, making life extremely difficult for Dykstra. Corner kick brought to you by Chick-fil-A as Donnie Smith tried to get a clearance to it. Salazar getting his first touch, but it's interrupted by Moape. Moape through for Joel Johnson. He's got a couple runners with him. Johnson sending it back across. Moape! Yes, indeed. Moape, in his Charlotte debut, gets a goal here at the Sportsplex at Matthews, and Charlotte have doubled their lead. 2-0.
Well, you wanted a fan favorite. You got one for sure, Tyler. Mutai Moape, just an excellent solo effort by every single person that touches this ball. Moape starting it off. Great ball into Joel Johnson. And how clever is he? Look at the eyes. Quick look over the left shoulder. Plays the ball back in. And watch it touch by Moape. Right in front of him, down underneath Irving.
And we apologize, folks. That goal actually came from Cordell Cato. And it was in such a flash that it was difficult to tell who it was, but Cordell Cato with his second goal of the evening.
Tell you something that's not going to show up on the score sheet there, Tyler, is old man Jorge Herrera streaking down the left side. Shocked Cato didn't play it across. Again, we apologize. Difficult to see the numbers. And I just referenced Moape a second ago.
Well, this, in fact, is Moape touching it for Joel Johnson, and then a big challenge there from Anizio. Well, what a way to start your career here at the Sportsplex at Matthews for Cordell Cato. 2 goals to the good for Charlotte. And credit the assist to Joel Johnson. Fans, the USL's official Twitter feed keeps you up to date with news, live game updates, and highlights from around the league 24/7. Follow at USL on Twitter. Foul called against Moape. A little bit of a height discrepancy between Moape and Steven DeSantos.
Almost a full 12 inches to be exact, 6'4" and 5'6". I'll tell you what's been interesting though is Jonathan Belinsky, our head referee, has been inconsistent at best with his refereeing tonight. He's letting heavy things go. He's calling ticky-tacky fouls. In my opinion, it's disrupting the game.
Jan Ekra disrupting the Ottawa attack. Pinballs around a little bit. It is Moape on the near side. Towards the back post, but nobody home. And a little bit of frustration there from Jorge Herrera, as the ball probably needed to be delivered right around the penalty area.
And 28 minutes left. You'd love to see Ottawa Fury kind of reset, falling behind the 8 ball a little bit here. Plenty of time to get back in this match, though. And you've seen them go forward and have the ability to do so, but again, we talked about consistency. They are being a little bit too nonchalant with the ball in the middle of the pitch. As they go left to right, you kind of maybe hope Popovich might make a personnel change, kind of stir things up a little bit.
And right on cue, Cito Sione is getting ready to come on for Ottawa. Were you just talking to Popovich?
I've got him on the two-way.
He used to call you on your cell phone? Well, all systems go right now for Charlotte, up 2-0 at home in the season opener. And now Sione going to make his way on here in the 64th to try to inject some life into an Ottawa offense that's been relatively anemic so far, as he will come on and replace Jamar Dixon. So Popovich not afraid to show his hand right now. Very offensive switch.
Well, and Dos Santos had the ability to slot 10 away last year, and we said the next person that was close to him only had 5. Saito. So, you know, maybe step up, give him a nice combination platter up there. Finish off this dinner, if you will.
Salazar, it comes back out. Dykstra can't get to it, and there it is for Ottawa. It's their first goal of the 2018 season, and his first touch of the game is a goal for Cito Sione. And Charlotte's lead cut in half here in the 64th.
Well, almost on cue, Cito just stepping up, and you can see him. I said go more direct. They decide to do so, and the benefactor of a deflection of Joel Johnson, that inside leg, still making its way to the back post. And for sure, Andrew Dykstra fooled the Fury, the benefactor of that for sure, sneaking back into this match at 2-1.
Well, Nikola Popovich looks like a downright genius bringing on Sione, and then moments later, his virtually first touch of the game ends up being a goal. Here's my question to you. Was that going in if it doesn't take a deflection?
It's very difficult to see from that angle. You saw him pick out the far post, but the Independents doing everything right, tracking back, an ill-timed turnover for sure.
It was clever play from Salazar. Knew exactly where Sione was going to be. And the Chilean, or rather Belize international, able to bag the assist, and now Ottawa putting themselves in a good position to try to maybe steal a point on the road here. And it's a saying that's been around this game for a long, long time. 2-0 is a very, very dangerous lead to have in this sport.
called Sam Vine's name much in the second half here. Very active on that left side in the first half, but Charlotte switching up their tactics, going through the middle of the field. Much better.
And Herrera called for the foul on Manila. And it is going to be mustered for Jorge Herrera here in the 67th minute. And you can hear some of the fans here at the Sportsplex in Matthews aren't exactly pleased with the call.
Here's another look, Kayla Calvert. Again, the ball just sliding out, and I'm not really sure what the argument is there.
Well, you could see Herrera was trying to foul him, but it looked like he ended up missing.
I think he also sees his arm over the right shoulder. I mean, it's difficult, the referee from that angle. How do you not blow the whistle? We're disagreeing on a foul again?
What else is new? Well, there's a look at the shot statistic for this match so far. Charlotte have been peppering, or at least trying to pepper, Callum Irving on one end, and Andrew Dykstra hasn't seen a whole lot of action, but they were able to find the back of the net with one of those 3 shots.
That's something the Fury need to be cognizant of and make sure they stay present in this match. And as the time starts to tick, 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 you got to push forward and give yourself an opportunity. On the other end, we saw Caleb Calvert step up and have a little look over his shoulder and have a go on Callum Irving, but haven't really seen the Fury players do so.
Sam Vines just trying to shield it out of bounds, gets muscled off of it. And it's going to be a foul against Ottawa, goes against Howarth, and Devin, doesn't look like you're too pleased with that call either.
I mean, you and I can agree on this one. Let them play for sure. I mean, that's a solid 50-50 challenge. It's a shoulder-to-shoulder. Let the boys play.
And Sam Vines sort of got bailed out there, and that's a little bit of the 18-year-old not completely grown into his frame yet coming into play, and that was something that Mike Jeffries told us, and he says extremely technical, he's great going forward, but it's just going to be a matter of the speed of play thing, which is going to take time.
And also, as you mentioned, the physicality coming into question, and he'll grow into that frame, but that's where you got to be a little bit more clever, use that soccer IQ so you don't put yourself in those situations.
Fans, have you got what it takes to beat the experts on UXLsoccer.com? Show off your knowledge of the league by picking the right results of the USL's matchups each week of the season. A couple of those experts, Mike Watts, who calls the ESPN3 Game of the Week for USL, and Nicholas Murray, one of our fantastic writers at the USL. Hopefully we get a crack at that at some point. Both teams exchanging turnovers. Jan Eckera with a great turn. Tries to send it along for Herrera. Tripped up from behind. And Devin, you're nodding your head in approval over here, and I think we could agree on that one as well. Kevin Oliveira called for the foul, and rightfully so.
Oliveira is frustrated, and you see Michael Salazar waving his finger, but what you're going to see, there's a continuation. Salazar and Oliveira kind of causing frustration in the middle of the park. As Oliveira tracks back, I think he actually is getting blown for the first part of it. He bears the brunt of it on the counter, and then the second one, just a last-minute shove. Referee had to blow his whistle.
"20 minutes remaining here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Herrera, not a bad ball in, and Callum Irving off of his line. Minizio.
Good pressure from the Independents. Well done stepping up here.
Almost got over the head of Donnie Smith. Tad suspect there. And now Ottawa off to the races once again. On the wrong side of Salazar. Wasn't exactly aware of where the ball was. Good turn from Dos Santos. Finds himself in a double team, and another foul called. This one in favor of Ottawa.
Well, I don't envy Jonathan Belinsky and his job that he has to do, as it is extremely difficult, but not really sure what he's blowing the whistle on there. I mean, I see Dos Santos cutting back across, but two Independence players closing in, win the ball, and he falls.
Free kick bent in. Donnie Smith gets there first. Still with Ottawa. Porter, penetrating ball in. Is there a foul? Referee says no. Ottawa making camp in Charlotte's defensive third right now. Here's Portilla. He's been active since coming on at halftime. Manila.
If Ottawa want to get that second goal, this is what they need to do. Keep pushing. Pushing Independence back into their final third. You see, it's been a little bit of a sparring match here in the second half. Both teams kind of playing off each other. Emotion shifting back and forth. Momentum for sure.
Mike Jeffries and his team about 17 minutes away from their first win of the 2018 season. Fans, remember that the USL's official Facebook page brings you the best from across the league with news, highlights, and interactive features like the USL on Facebook to get the league's best content delivered to you. Porter. On Cato. Manila. Minizio. Dos Santos somehow getting out of trouble there. Big ball over to the far side, intended for Porter. It'll be a long throw-in for Charlotte coming up.
It was clever from Ottawa coming down too. Carl Howarth once again knocking those little triangular balls in and out behind Charlotte, but Cito choosing to go outside, playing that ball down into the corner.
Joel Johnson, already with an assist to his name tonight. Linking up with Moape. Joel Johnson bending it in for Calvert. Fortunately finds the feet of a man in a white jersey for Ottawa. And it was Sione who's the goal scorer for the Canadian club. Calvert, is he onside? It's off the post. The flag had stayed down and it would have counted. Heartbreak City for Caleb Calvert, which would have sealed the deal.
Well, you're going to get another look here. Ill-timed ball played back. Callum Irving maybe gets the tiniest little of touch, and Caleb Calvert can't capitalize. That could have been the nail in the coffin for Calvert and the Charlotte Independents.
Salazar sliding it through. Good touch from Howarth. And Dykstra off of his line. Well, it was behind Carl Howarth, and he did really well just to keep the play alive for Ottawa.
That was a great touch, but how about the turn by Michael Salazar to set him up? Very well done at the top of the box. You can see Ottawa trying to push the pace a little bit, getting much more crafty down in the final third, and they're going to need to continue to do so. Just about 13 minutes left in this match.
Moape. Good skill. And Cordell Cato sitting on a hat trick. Moape. Out wide. Sam Vines. As his cross deflected out of bounds, and it will be a corner coming up for Charlotte.
And just like that, the sparring partner, Independence, more than willing to step up and say, hey, anything you can do, we can do better. Very pretty coming down. As they work that triangular pattern in and out of that back line of the Ottawa Fury. The very tired Kyle Porter standing on the post, gasping for breath as he laid chase.
And the corner kicks, as always, brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Herrera bending it in, and it's going to be a penalty. Caleb Calvert thrown down by Sergio Minizio. And a really, really good opportunity for the Independents to seal this one up here at the Sportsplex at Matthews.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's got to be something clear-cut for the referee to point to the spot in this situation, as Minizio is furious. You see the long ball being played to the back post. I know I've been very critical of him all match, but I have to do it one more time. I think that's soft. I think it's very soft. I see the contact, but he comes around. I mean, smart by Caleb Calvert to go to ground, for sure.
But 99 times out of 100, that call's not made.
No.
No. You just saw the one.
That's why I said it's very soft.
Jorge Herrera on top of it. Cato is sitting on a hat trick, but Herrera, usually a specialist from 12 yards away, looking for his first goal of 2018. Jorge Herrera. And that should do it. Herrera converts from the spot, and the Colombian has probably given the Charlotte Independents their first 3 points of 2018. 3-1 over Ottawa.
Well, the Fury are going to be furious after that call and that spot kick. But Jorge Herrera says, not my fault, not my problem. This is yours. Steps up. Excellent PK. Going to get a better look at it from this angle, right into the corner. But I'll tell you what, Callum Irving did a great job trying to get to it right off his fingertips. And the Independents, with 10 minutes to go, are up 3-1.
Well, believe it or not, that is Jorge Herrera's first goal since July 29th. When Charlotte started to go on that skid last year towards the end of the season, it was Herrera who started to fall off a little bit in terms of the goal-scoring production. But that's a great way for him to start off 2018, seeing the ball go in the back of the net and probably giving Charlotte their first 3 points.
Yeah, 100%. We referenced Father Time. It's obviously not following him around the pitch. He's done very well for himself tonight. Been very frustrating for the Fury in their back line, but if you're Popovich, you got a good response out of your squad last time when you went down 2-0, were able to claw back to 2-1. Now you're at 3-1. You're on the road. There's 10 minutes left. make sure you keep your intensity high. You don't want to start this 4-game road trip off with a nasty finish like this.
Well, it's 3-1. You didn't necessarily agree with the call from John Polinsky, but Caleb Calvert did recently just hit the post. Do you think that this is probably the right scoreline in terms of what these two teams deserve?
I think 2-1 probably would have been a better representation of it. 3-1, you're up 2, stretching the game a little bit. I don't disagree with the comment about Calvert, but even that was a fortuitous, ill-timed ball played by Fury to getting in there. So I think he got lucky on that one. But you just like to see them step up and continue their forthright, as they're doing now, pushing the envelope.
Howard goes for goal. Wasn't a bad effort at all. Well, he hit it sweetly enough, but just wide of that near post of Andrew Dykstra. Carl Howard just continues to be a menace to the Charlotte Independence back line.
I think one of the frustrating things for the Fury is kind of what we talked about at the beginning, Tyler, is a lot of individuality going on tonight.
It's clever work from Ekra, sending Cordo Cato the other way. Cato into the box, could fall for Herrera. Takes a wild deflection and finds the back of the net. Second of the night for Herrera, fourth of the night for Charlotte, and they've got their first win of the season wrapped up with a bow.
Well, Popovich and his boys, a bad whistle, a bad bounce, a bad deflection. He's dealt with it all. Jorge Herrera, a sitter right on the penalty mark, playing tic-tac-toe in the middle of the box. Hits one defender, bounces off the second, and just goes into the bottom corner. And all Callum Irving can do is look in disgust as Happy Herrera heads back to the center circle, and Charlotte Independence have jumped out to a 4-1 lead.
Well, you said it. Right after Herrera converted from the penalty marker, if you're Nikola Popovic, you didn't want this to get out of hand. And it was just one simple little move from Jan Ecker in the middle of the field and sent Charlotte off and running the other way as Caleb Calvert comes up a little bit lame after the play. And Greg Jordan has already come off midway through the first half, and as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast and throughout this broadcast, is that Charlotte has dealt with a lot of injuries during the preseason. Mike Jeffries just trying to keep everybody healthy. And now making his Charlotte Independence debut. One of the big offseason signings for Mike Jeffries and the Charlotte Independence. Kay Fosser, the 31-year-old from Baden, Switzerland. He's played for the likes of FC Zurich, Sion Fulham, as well as FC Basel.
And if you're an Independence fan, keep an eye on this man. 31 years old and just seasoned beyond his years. So successful in Switzerland with the teams that Tyler just mentioned, and he is going to be a mainstay in that midfield if they can get him up to par on his fitness levels. Mike Jeffries telling us that right about now he's just kind of sitting on 45 or 60 minutes, so you can get him out, get a nice run. It's going to be nice and competitive, but not a boatload at stake. Very, very crafty midfielder.
Well, the official ruling on the Jorge Herrera's second goal, they're actually going to credit it to Kyle Porter, so it'll be an own goal. And Herrera will be looking for his second next week against Toronto FC 2. That game will be right here at the Sportsplex at Matthews, and we will be on the call for that one. And probably the right ruling on that one. I mean, it took a number of deflections.
They could have given it to me and it would have been fine. Took so many bounces down there.
And now it's just academic really for Charlotte. Just trying to see this one out. A little bit of fitness in for the big signing from Switzerland, Kay Fosser. Good pressure from Caleb Calvert. He goes down. Fosser will have some time to get here. Tries to send the cross in, takes a deflection, and another corner kick coming up for the Charlotte Independence. Corner kicks brought to you by Chick-fil-A, and this one will be delivered by Jorge Herrera, as they will elect to play it short. Wise move from the Colombian. Johnson over for Sam Vines, who will start and play all 90 minutes in his professional debut. Looking to pick out Calvert, but it's Irving who picks it out of the air. Manila. Well, I would say about 40 minutes into this game, I don't think either of us could have predicted there would be 5 goals into it. But Charlotte has done a great job here in the second half. Here's Foster. Poor touch. Ottawa maybe looking to pull one back. Good interception from Sam Vines. Howard coming out wide for Salazar. Already with an assist on the Sione goal. Tricky from Calvert. Foster. Cordell Cato with half of the Charlotte goal scoring production tonight. Or now that we'll have 2 minutes of stoppage time added on to the 90 here. And we'll get one more substitution momentarily from Mike Jeffries if play allows it, as it'll be Ricardo Perez coming on. 22-year-old from Juarez, Mexico. Came up through the Colorado Rapids Youth Academy. Joel Johnson around Salazar and able to draw the foul. And he hasn't touched the ball a whole lot tonight, but Joel Johnson is picked up in 2018, right where he left off in 2017, and now Perez coming on to replace Caleb Calvert. Your thoughts on Calvert's performance tonight?
Decent. I felt like he was isolated too much. I know he plays that point man very well, but Mike Jeffries telling us without Enzo Martinez, Jorge Herrera is going to slide into that kind of central role and float a little bit. Not as much as Enzo, and I think Jorge Herrera just kind of felt out of place, not having that striking partner up top, kind of being alone in the middle, and Calvert got isolated. Did a great job when he was on his own, but he needs someone to play off of to be fully effective.
Well, Ricardo Perez onto the scene here, making his Charlotte Independence debut. It seems like almost the entire team is. Big overhaul in the offseason for Mike Jeffries in the front office of the Charlotte Independence. Cut out nicely by Duckett. Courage forward. Flag is down. Could there be a 5th in store for Charlotte? A little bit too overzealous was Jorge Herrera, trying to square it back for Kay Foster. And we are going to have 1 more minute of stoppage time added on, so it'll be 3 minutes in total. Just enough time for Charlotte to maybe get a 5th or Ottawa to pull one back. Cordell Cato. Jan Ekra has come on and performed brilliantly, in my opinion, after the injury to Greg Jordan midway through the first half. Bilal Duckett caught himself in a little bit of trouble. Johnson shielded off the ball by Sione. It's actually very well done. Oliveira. Dos Santos into the box, and easy work for Andrew Dykstra. Devin, if you were to give a grade for the Charlotte Independents in their first game of 2018?
C- at best. Yeah, I don't even care with the wind. It was lackluster performances by both squads. It was methodical. It was boring. I think both coaches would probably say the same thing. If you're Mike Jeffries, you're going to pull your boys off the pitch, be happy that you got 3 points in your home opener. But there is a boatload of work to be done for this squad, especially coming off the form and the success that they had last year. I mean, they were flying at certain points in time. That's not all because of their ability to not play, or inability to play, I should say. It's, you know, he expressed to us he only had 5 weeks of preseason, not a lot of games, so that's what you're seeing now, working out the kinks. But they're going to go back to the drawing board, and they're going to get back to work because there's a lot to be done.
And a big challenge there, right in the dying moments of this one. Very unnecessary from the Ottawa player, as it was Donnie Smith who got whacked in the end.
Interestingly enough, with Donnie Smith, the most we've called his name has been on dead ball and set pieces. Hasn't really had to from a defensive standpoint, which is nice for a makeshift center back.
All the way back for Callum Irving. And there it is, first 3 points of the season for the Charlotte Independents. It wasn't the prettiest at times for Mike Jeffries' club, but they're able to score 4 goals in their season opener against an Ottawa team that struggled defensively and through large portions of the game. Jorge Herrera with a goal, as well as a brace from Cordell Cato in his Independence debut. And just a solid performance in Charlotte, able to get a 4-1 win. And we will jump right in to our post-game highlights. We'll take a look at some of the best moments from the 90 minutes. And we really didn't see any action until around the 41st minute when Cordell Cato, got things started.
And we just referenced Donnie Smith. What a pretty little in-swinging ball, left-footed from the set ball situation on the corner. You can just see it coming in. I'd really like to see Callum Irving take better presence in his goal. That's your 6-yard box. You got to be more vocal, decent organization, but you can't let the ball drop like that. Independence capitalized on it, went up 1-0.
And then this was a fantastic move from the Charlotte Independents. The work from Joel Johnson, and then just a tidy finish in the end from Cato for his second of the night.
Super sexy from Cordell Cato in the coming out party that he had this evening. You saw the speed from him and Joel Johnson on the right side. Excellent combination play. Almost thought he was going to slip it into the back post to Jorge Herrera. I think Callum Irving might have thought something similar, able to slot it underneath him, and they were up 2-0 and cruising at the start of the second half.
But then Ottawa would find their way back into the game, and just moments after coming on, Cito Sione would be able to find the back of the net for Ottawa, and it looked like a rather innocent play, but how about this pass from Salazar, and then Sione getting fortunate with the bounce, but probably a deserved goal for Ottawa.
When I talked about when they would push numbers to that back line, they were giving so much space to the Fury if they would just take advantage of it. Salazar got a lot more crafty and complicated in the second half, causing frustration back there, and just Cito stepping up, one of his first touches, benefactor of an ill-fated bounce, and Dykstra just watched it bounce it into the net, and we were back at 2-1.
And the Charlotte Independents would have an answer for Sione's goal. Good play from Jan Ekra, and this wouldn't be the answer, but it almost was as Caleb Calvert strikes the post right around the 70th minute. And a lot of the Ottawa players thought that the flag was probably going to be raised, but it stayed down and would have counted had it gone in. And then here was the controversial call, to say the least. Calvert thrown down by Venizio, and it would be a penalty kick, and we all know what happens when Jorge Herrera steps up to the 12-yard marker.
Yeah, and I 100% disagree with the referee, Jonathan Belinsky, in this situation, but nonetheless, he's the man in charge. Points to the spot. Herrera, 3-1.
And then Jan Ekra, after coming on for the injured Greg Jordan, would spark the attack the other way. And ended up falling for Herrera. The goal would be credited to Kyle Porter, but Cordell Cato doing a great job there on the outside just to get the ball across. And sometimes the football gods are smiling down on you, and that was the case for Jorge Herrera.
Yeah, Callum Irving just bounces all over the place and just couldn't really get it going. Ottawa Fury going to be frustrated with their performance. Popovich talked about the drawing board. He's going to need to erase the slate and figure out exactly what they're going to do. But again, first game coming off of preseason. Look at the possession number there. I mean, that's a huge number, but the Independents able to fight their way back in. 14 shots, 7 on target, 4 goals. Good way to close out the night.
Well, despite the possession statistic, Charlotte really dominated the entire portion of the game. And the Wells Fargo save of the game is going to come from not either of the goalkeepers, but rather a defender. Colin Falvey probably saved the goal here as Cato was looming.
Yeah, very, very, very smart, and that's why they brought him in. Signed on January 23rd. You see him just tracking back, smart defending, going to ground. You never want to see your defenders leave their feet unless they have to. He had to, made the save. Great job.
Well, the next game for the Charlotte Independents is going to be a week from today, March 24th, against Toronto FC2, who fell in a heartbreaker to New York Red Bulls 2 earlier today, as Red Bulls 2 were able to mount a comeback scenario with a brace in that one. But that's going to do it for week number 1 here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. A fun day of football, family, and friends. And it ended with 4 goals for the Charlotte Independents as they were able to take down the Ottawa Fury in the opening game at Sportsplex at Matthews. Cordell Cato with a brace, Jorge Herrera with a goal, Kyle Porter in own goal, and for Ottawa is Sione with the lone goal for the Canadian club. For our entire crew and my broadcast partner, Devin Kerr, I'm Tyler Terrence saying so long for now. Final score, Charlotte 4, Ottawa 1. We'll talk to you soon.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.